I have started recording, by the way, so we can
Oh,
dive
great.
straight into this.
Whoa, plunging in like Tom Daly. Welcome back to Lot to Go, episode 44. How many people have literally just turned off this episode?
Yeah, also, that would have been really great if we were about to talk about the celebrity traitors, but
Um, Pause. Have you been watching the Celebrity
I have been
Traitors?
watching it. I've been quite enjoying it. Yeah,
Oh,
are you caught
uh,
up?
yes, I am. Yeah.
Actually, before you announce what we're talking about, I am kind of miffed by just like the people in that in this round of the traitors. Like, there's a point where they're sitting at the table, and Stephen Fry goes, "Why don't we try and play this the opposite way?" And then I can't remember her name, but she just goes, "Nah, let's not do that."
Yep.
And it just ruins that would have been a great way to play that round at the round table.
Totally. However, even though that's huff, we've got Alan Carr as a traitor, and that
Yeah,
we
that's
should
great.
all be grateful for. I
Mhm.
love him so much.
I know.
He's so silly. When he said to Tom Daly, it's like, "Oh, flabbergasted. Who used the word flabbergasted?" Well, you think because they have a better vocabulary than you that they're a traitor?
I was sitting there actually thinking the same thing when like, because he complained about it like 3 times by the time he got to complaining about it to Alan Carr. So when Alan Carr came
Mhm.
out with like that, I was like, pop off.
He's so good. I'm really enjoying it. I am a little sad. I think there's like some mean stuff going on with like the people that they've kicked off already. Like, I thought it was really weird that Nico got put out. But then
Hmm.
I think actually looking at it, they're all from traditional media and he's from internet media. And it's very easy to be like, well, we don't really know you. Like,
Yeah, it's the thing of like, I honestly think they should maybe put off kicking people out for the first couple of days because you don't
hmm
know anyone, and it
yeah.
becomes like that weird thing of just removing someone for no reason.
hmm And I also think there's an added layer because they're celebrities and they're all British and they're in the same sort of circles, a lot of them. It feels a bit weird already, but
Yo,
anyway, enough about that. This is episode
this
number
week
44, and this week on the Traitors. Oh, Claudia Winkleman as well. Like my
the
queen.
goat.
She's yeah. Is she in the stand book? Oh, she's
Uh,
not.
she is she not? After all the speaking
No.
we did about the traitors,
That's
the
crazy. Should
first
we
couple
add
episodes.
Claudia Winkleman?
Yeah, you can add her now. Um,
Yes.
this week we are covering Frankenstein and Good Fortune,
We are indeed, Owen. I'm
which
Jack.
only I've seen Frankenstein, and I'm Owen.
Yeah, Owen is lucky, I guess, to have seen Frankenstein. I'm disappointed I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, it's nice
But
getting
I'm
to see it
very
at the cinema,
excited to
like
hear
you
your
said.
thoughts.
Like you said, it's a film made for streaming. Um,
Yeah, what does that even mean at this point?
I think we are moving away from that a little bit because there are films that are made for streaming services that don't necessarily feel like they're made for streaming anymore,
hmm
like Killers of the Flower Moon and things like that. Like that feels like this big film made by a big director, even though it was made for a streaming service.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, do you want to just dive right in with
Yeah,
your
I'll
top-notch
go for
thoughts
it.
on
Yeah, yeah,
Frankenstein's? Yeah. No spoilers for this as well. Don't worry, guys.
yeah.
But guess what? He makes Frankenstein.
But yeah. Guess what? You probably know the story of this film if you've seen like any other film. Like Frankenstein is such a well-known thing, and anything to do with monsters as well. And all those stories come from like old like or inspired by like old like grim fairy tales or like come from
Yeah.
old novels, and everything that comes from them bleeds through into everything that is made now anyway in some shape or form. So you've seen this film as a patchwork of other films. Um,
Mm.
anyway, you were talking about would I want to see this in the cinema? It is like a very visually appealing film.
Mm.
I think even regardless of what my opinion of this film is, even going to see it on a big screen, I do think is worth it because it is kind of like a feast for the eyes. Um,
Hmm.
I feel you feel that from the opening. Um, we kind of, I guess it's not really spoilery to talk about where we start the film.
Mm.
Um, you start on a stranded ship on ice, and essentially you have Victor Frankenstein running along, gets on this ship with the crew, and you have Frankenstein's monster following close behind. And it's one of those openings that makes the film feel kind of enormous, which is not what I think you expect from a Frankenstein film. He's been covered so much in media, but like, obviously in the traditional films, there's this monster and he's kind of scary and he is large, but it's never something that it almost felt like a like Pirates of the Caribbean or something like Davy Jones standing there, like just felt properly supernatural, properly like foreboding. I would say is
Mm.
what Frankenstein felt like, and like in those first couple of minutes, and he also speaks in a way that I don't think you've ever heard Frankenstein in a classic film speak. Like all he says is Victor, but it has such like weight behind it, and he projects it so much that it feels like there's this monstrous thing coming after him. So like
Mm.
as soon as you hit that opening of the film, you're like in it, and it looks so nice. Like this is one of those I'd like to call it a set, but there'd be a lot of like CGI. One of those scenes where in this film where it feels larger than life, it's just a little bit extra, like not too
Mm.
extra, but it makes it feel huge. Um, and the film starts in such a way, like with that, where you're kind of your framing is a certain way. So Victor Frankenstein is running from the monster, so he's the good guy, and the monster chasing him, so he's the bad guy. So that works perfectly. You're like right in it. The film is shown in chapters. I don't know if that's known or not, but it's shown in chapters to show the perspectives of these two characters, which I think works in theory. And I thought it was interesting when it happened, but then given like the payoff of the film, I don't know if the structure of it worked so well for me.
As
Um,
in, it goes from Victor to Frankenstein's monster.
yeah,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, and you'd think that would work because you get, without trying to spoil the film or anything, like you get the creation of Frankenstein's monster, and then
Mm.
obviously having a chapter after Victor Frankenstein means that you get to develop Frankenstein's monster. But it feels so much shorter than what you get for Victor Frankenstein. And because of the conclusion of the film, it doesn't help that, I think.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of the messaging in this film is incredibly heavy-handed. There's
Mm.
even a bit which kind of bothered me. I liked how it was set up. So you have like Victor Frankenstein as a kid, and then just like the tiniest bit of like imagery or foreshadowing to tell you the kind of person he's going to become. He's sitting there with like this little porcelain kind of sculpture of I think like a pregnant woman, and it's like all
Mm.
the you could it's almost like not a Russian doll, but you can kind of like take apart like her stomach and her kind of chest area, to like little
Mm.
pieces, like maybe tiny organs, and he's just like has that all separated out and he's putting it together whilst his father's like lecturing him on the human body, and then his father says something like about like porcelain people or whatever, and like we're focusing on real people right now. Like ignore that. Um, and so then you get to him creating Frankenstein. It's like, oh, he's been putting like things together his whole life, like thinking about that moment. And then they do a moment where he is like sitting with that thing again as an adult, like doing it, and then like looks over at Frankenstein's monster. And I can't remember if he says something, but it just feels like you never had to see him do that again.
Mm.
I think if you trusted the audience, then that was fine the first time round. And I can't remember other examples of it, but it was just I feel like there was a lot of little things like that that just stacked up into being like, we are going to tell you what this means over and
Mm.
over. Um, the set dressing and the pure stuff's great. Um, I was talking about the ship at the start on the ice and it feeling kind of a little bit bigger than life. I think it works for this film when they do that, and then when they choose to have it feel regular. So this film was shot, some of it in Edinburgh. We went to try and catch it, in the place that it was shot.
Completely got that.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so cool as well because I mentioned that, and then I like before I went to see the film, and then I looked up the Google Photos, and all we got on that day was some lampposts lying on the Royal Mile in front of a church. But what was really cool was watching um, that scene that obviously like that area was used in, and like seeing the church behind him as he walked through an alleyway. So like knowing exactly like the route that he took and like knowing the streets is very cool. Um,
Mm.
but it's really cool that you had that, and then some larger than life stuff. You have like where Frankenstein is made is like this huge foreboding tower, um, and that's such an over the top structure. It's ridiculous. You're like, where the hell is this? He like buys it. Like, why does that tower exist? Like this menacing tower. Nobody's gonna make that, but it works just for like the kind of like kookiness of the film.
Mm.
But I like that it has the grounded, regular. It is Edinburgh. That's what it's supposed to be, and then these larger things,
Oh.
as opposed to like yeah, yeah, as opposed to like Poor Things, which has everything is this whole new world, and that works exactly as it should for that film. Like it's just picking and
Hmm.
choosing the things that work for your film. Um, Also, it's really cool that they were like, oh, he goes to Edinburgh, and that's where he's like studying or like speaking to professors there and things. Um, as opposed to like Poor Things, where the book was based in Glasgow, and then they got to the film and they were like, "We're doing Oxford now." We have a friend that's really annoyed by that, and it does irk
Yeah,
me a little
it's
bit because
immediately where
it's
my brain went.
yeah, it irks me a little bit because it's like even Willem Dafoe in that film is like supposed to have a Scottish accent,
Mhm.
and it's in Oxford. Anyway, putting that aside, back to the film we're talking about. The performances are good. Um, Nothing stood out to me as like breathtaking or anything. Um,
Wow.
just to be clear, like I saw two films in the film festival. It was Hamnet and this. Hamnet like blows this out of the park. It was always going to. But there was nothing in this that made me like. Uh, I do think Jacob Elordi does do a good job. Um, he achieves like the level of transformation um, way better than I think that I don't think I've seen Frankenstein that much. I've seen the original and I've seen Frankenstein's Bride. I'm sure I've seen some iterations in like smaller forms of media, like a cartoon Frankenstein or whatever. But we never
Hmm.
really got to see um, Frankenstein transform into a person. I think there's the for all intents and purposes like calling him like a stupid version of Frankenstein to start with, and then
Hmm.
learning about the world around them, and then becoming like a fully fledged um, person in a similar way. Not it's not a one to one mapping, but in a similar way that it's done in like Poor Things, where you have essentially a toddler that becomes like a proper person.
Hmm.
I thought that was really cool, especially because you go from the stupid version that's so innocent and like fears his master to
Hmm.
becoming the person that you see at the beginning of the film. It is so like, menacing, and then also in some ways wise, just in the
Hmm.
way that he speaks, the stuff that he's like garnered about the world. Um, the themes and the plot of this film are as you would have expected, especially it being like a Guillermo Del Toro monster film as well. It's like
Yeah.
the whole who's the real monster kind of thing. It's making you really feel for the monster. They aren't a monster, they are a person. Um, so I think it's quite cliched in that way, which is
Hmm.
generally fine, I think. Um, at least for the plot points of getting through like the bad monster, but actually good monster. It just could have done with some depth. I think specifically, so like the last point I have is Victor Frankenstein's like motives. I don't know why he kind of makes the decisions that he does. and it
Mm.
just seems a bit 2D. And I was trying to find the words for this, and I'm not sure I can, but and I wasn't sure if it was just me that felt that way, but I ended up going on Letterboxd, and Seth's reviews had said something about Oscar Isaac's character as well, and I do just think the fact that we spend the most time with him, and you do develop him from like this innocent child to this person that wants to make a monster into a person that then regrets his decision. I think the decision to want to create the monster is pretty two-dimensional. It works
Mm.
in the way that essentially there's a death and then he's trying to fight death. And that's fine. It's the whole playing God thing. We've seen it done a million times.
Mm.
I'm just not quite sure where the notion that he is upset about his monster kind of comes from.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think back on it, and maybe it's just me not understanding or being forgetful. And there was a point that I got to go to the toilet for 2 minutes, so there was like a big change in like that moment. But even watching the build up to that, it seems like I don't know where the necessarily the catalyst was for him to not see eye to eye with like his creation, and then also maybe a little bit of the whole cliche of like there's this love interest that maybe Oscar Isaac's Victor Frankenstein is a bit jealous of the monster in some way about the way that she treats the monster, and like that's very cliche. Like I'm not a huge fan of that. Um,
Yeah.
and yet, in the way that this film ends is very, I think, hand wavy, to be honest. And this sort of resolution because it is kind of like a happy ending, and it feels like the film loses momentum and loses. I feel like it honestly could have done with a longer runtime where we spent
Huh.
more time just getting to a better resolution than what we got.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
your issues stem from it being quite like just lacking in depth, like very you couldn't sink your teeth into the plot
No, it's a lot of
as
it's a lot
much.
of style,
Okay, yeah.
I think.
That sucks. Is it profoundly different to I'm always hesitant with like readaptations of stories because I feel like there has to be a way in, like a reason for it to happen. Um, is there anything that drastically different? I don't know how familiar you are with like Mary Shelley's story of
Oh, I've not read the
Frankenstein.
book.
Or like,
I've only seen the film, and I think because it's like such an old film, there's not much that they did with it. It's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
there is a monster, and then the villagers are after the monster, but you can see that the monster's quite human, and it really works for like an older film like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you breathe new life into it like this has, I do think they did a lot more, but it was maybe more in terms of stretching out that story for Frank because for Frankenstein monster specifically because you get to see that longer transformation. I think that is very cool. And then giving like Victor Frankenstein a past where you're like, oh, this is motivations and things. And I really like that. And then I don't know at what point I just disconnect from the film and I was like, I feel like I'm getting nothing from this. Like it needed more. And then you get to the finale and I think you're just kind of like, wow, this felt really rushed.
Oh, that's a real shame.
Yeah,
Because so it started in a strong way where you were like
I think
engaged,
so.
and it slowly lost your interest over time. Right? Okay.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sucks. But you still would recommend seeing this in a cinema.
I'd say if you are going to see this, see it in a cinema.
Okay.
If it
Would you
doesn't take your
recommend it in
liking,
general then?
uh, actually, of the of these two films, I'd recommend Good Fortune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yep.
Um, hmm. That's really I always am hesitant with like Netflix productions and stuff as well. Netflix specifically, I think, is the streamer that gets a lot of shit because I don't know, they have published shit before, um, and produced shit. But I'm always like if I'm going to watch a film, I'm always like I should see this in a cinema anyway. I mean, like if you're like hesitant about going to see it, I think you're always going to get a better experience seeing that on a big screen than watching on a laptop like in the middle of the night, do you know?
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but it's a shame that you didn't get much out of it. I'm very excited still to see it, but my excitement has always been visually. I you know,
Yeah,
it was
I think I
never
was the same.
Frankenstein. They're making Frankenstein.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. No, it's just getting to see what that looks like from a director that like sees the world in the way that Guillermo Del
uh-huh.
Toro does. Yeah.
I just find that really bizarre when you are adapting, especially when it's such a famous novel
Mhm.
that has been adapted so many times. If there isn't a new take to it, then why is it
Well,
being made?
yeah. I mean, how different can you make Frankenstein, especially with the number of times it's been told or
But
used, at
then,
least
like,
maybe not told.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a faithful adaptation, or like, interrogate other characters, or like, make a make a slight change somewhere that results in a drastic change
Mhm.
as the film goes on. But if it really is just like a paint by numbers, a very pretty paint by numbers, I don't know. That's not.
Yeah.
I would understand why some people would love that, but I
There's a
don't know.
very beautiful relationship between Frankenstein's monster and this older man, played by David Bradley. Um,
Oh,
and that's great. I love that bit. That's the most frustrating thing is like you when you get into watching Frankenstein, and his story, and then you're
hmm.
like, why was this all? This feels like half the length of what Victor Frankenstein got. Would have much preferred to have
Right.
seen
Okay.
more
Is
of
your
that.
core issue then kind of going back to what you were saying because it flips perspectives? Is your core issue that like when it flips back to Victor Frankenstein, his perspective is just inherently less interesting than the stuff that you get with like Frankenstein's monster?
I don't know if I'd call it less interesting because I was interested up until a certain point
Hmm.
with Victor Frankenstein
Okay.
before we even flipped over perspectives. Um,
Oh, really? You lost interest before there was even a perspective change?
yeah, it kind of gets to the point where you stop exploring. I think you stop exploring the character, and then you just start furthering plot to get to monster, and then
Okay.
the motivations you're not quite. I didn't quite understand why Victor Frankenstein would kind of just switch up in his worldview that he's developed since he was like an 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
Especially because
Fascinating.
it's not like the monster doesn't do like a violent performance that would cause him to be like, you're an abomination, like I shouldn't make another one of you. It's just such a weird switch up, I think.
Hmm. Cool. I'm still very interested to watch it, and I'm interested to utilize all this information into
Yeah, it's weird
my
that
watching
this
experience.
feels the wrong way around.
Yeah.
It was like when I did the Brutalist as well, like it just feels so wrong.
Oh my god, yeah, the brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
So funny. Um, Moving on though to a movie that you think is better, um, and is worth a watch in the cinema.
I'm not gonna
Tell me
flat
about.
out say that's better. I'm gonna say that I definitely enjoyed Good Fortune more.
Yeah. Owen hates Guillermo del Toro. Guys, spread that, please. Start spreading that. Yeah, this movie. Why have I literally just forgotten the name? Good Fortune, directed by Aziz Ansari. If you do not know who Aziz Ansari is, he is a very big American comedian, probably most famous for his role as Tom Habersford, I think it's his second name, in Parks and Recreation. And then after that, he has kind of went more into directing and stuff. He made a Netflix show called Master of None, which is really
People
good,
love that
that people
show.
should check out. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
really good show. Um, all of it is actually really well worth it. And I think he's kind of went away for a little bit of time, and this is his return, and I think his directorial debut to like the big screen.
Yeah,
Good
sorry,
fortune.
I was literally just on his director stuff. It says three, nightclub comedian and some one of his live performances. So this is the first time like, that he's directed a film.
Okay, nice. What the fuck's nightclub comedian?
I think it was some Netflix thing.
Oh right, okay, like a comedy special kind of thing.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, yeah.
Um, this movie is about Aziz Ansari, who plays Arj. He is a down on his luck guy, can't really, he's unable to keep jobs and things, so he is working for, I think, Task Rabbit, or maybe that's the real life version. Like maybe there's the in universe
Oh, yeah,
version
what
of
were they
that.
called? There was like a Q1, this Foodzer, that was one.
Yeah.
Um,
They
yeah,
basically have like in-world placements for like all the real life stuff that we have. So he's working from like job to job, and he lives in his car. He is really struggling financially. And we meet Keanu Reeves, who is a I'm not able to say Keanu Reeves' name without like a massive smile
yeah.
forming on my face. We, we we meet Keanu Reeves, who plays Gabriel, who is a guardian angel who has been tasked with saving people from texting and driving. But he seeks a deeper purpose in his life. He wants to save a lost soul, and he stumbles upon Arj one day and deems him a lost soul, so decides to intervene with Arj's life. And at the same time, we meet Seth Rogen's character, who is Jeff. And Jeff is this massive, like, millionaire, lives in this big mansion. He's been so successful with his companies. And Gabriel's big plan is he decides he's going to swap Arj's and Jeff's life, so that Arj can experience what Jeff's life is like and see that wealth isn't all that much. That actually he should be grateful for the life that he is living. But things don't go quite according to plan. This is good fortune. Owen, what you think?
I'm so interested in my opinion and how this might differ from yours, because I don't even
Yeah,
know if you
so
enjoyed
I.
this. Um, I enjoyed this way more than I thought I was going to,
Mm,
and I think I got mm, more out of it maybe than I thought I was going to. I thought I had more to say than most of these sorts of films do normally.
hmm
Um, so to start off with, this is probably a negative for a lot of people. It's quite heavy-handed with its messaging.
Yeah.
It very much is like this is what we are saying. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think it's as cliched as many other like Freaky Friday sort of films are because it has
Yeah.
a message to tell. Um, we get to watch three character journeys, which I think is so interesting because that's not how I expected to go into this film.
Mm,
Like what I was expecting to see in this film. I've definitely seen like one trailer for this, and I would have assumed that it was just Arj's kind of path that we saw. It's the main focus of the film, but it's definitely not the only story that gets told. So
mm,
obviously you have um, him being the main protagonist, and it's the whole like rags to riches thing. The point that you were saying there was Keanu Reeves' Angel tries to switch his life to go like, oh, wealth isn't all that it's out to be. You're supposed to like learn to appreciate it regardless of the learn to appreciate it, um, like your regular life, um, outside of like the whole wealth aspect. But he gets into that life of wealth, and he's like, no, this is so much easier, which I think is such a good thing to show on screen, because
yeah. Yeah.
obviously any other of these Freaky Friday films, they try and level the playing field too much, I think.
Mm,
Um, at the end of the day, what they do get across within that package of being like wealth makes life easier is it doesn't improve your mortality or relationships. Those are the two things that you can't just fix with money, right? There's probably a couple others, but and I don't say health because if you have wealth and you're injured, you can pay for the best, healthcare to get yourself fixed up. But specifically things like death, like the character gets is it hit by a car or something in this film, um, and often in cases that would just kill someone. So that and relationships because there's obviously the love interest and there's um somewhat of a struggle there. Um, so they do the whole thing of like showing that wealth makes life easier, and with still managing to kind of show that he can appreciate his own life and how tough it
Hmm.
is, even though they're getting this message across of wealth makes life easier. Keanu Reeves, you have the angel to human storyline where he falls in love with the kind of novelty of being human to begin
Hmm.
with, and then you see his kind of descent very quickly as he realizes, well, essentially because of Seth Rogen, kind of going like, "You need to get a job, dude," and you get to see his descent, uh, which is an amazing scene, by the way. I think uh, Keanu Reeves has made me laugh in the cinema more. I've been laughing in the cinema a lot recently, actually. I just find things way funnier, but he did a really good job at delivering on the humor. And part of that is when you get to that point where he reaches kind of like rock bottom, for lack of better words, like a nihilistic outlook on the world. But that scene where he's standing there smoking and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
how far you've fallen. Um, but then you get to further the message of kind of like loving life regardless, you do get the uptick after that for his character too, where he is like living through the struggles of being human, but is still learn to appreciate life. Obviously, it goes to that. I think the real moment that encapsulates that is when he goes and he's like on the dance floor and you just
Hmm.
experiencing like the nice things in life, even though he's been working like his job for I think weeks at that point, and he's been really down because he's almost had no time or money to do anything. Um, Seth Rogen, you get the rich man to poor man thing, which is excellent because that definitely furthers the message of this film, which is like wealth makes life so much easier. Um, he's literally a man who got everything that he has through nepotism, but now gets to experience the real weight of the world. And it's the whole
Hmm.
thing of like in this film, you're getting to see people who are working like two, three jobs. I think it really focuses on kind of these jobs that are like I guess like unskilled is maybe not the right word, but these jobs that are like cleaning and like cleaning a kitchen and like hospitality and things. Um, and it's focusing on all these the struggles of all these people, and oftentimes it is like immigrants as well. They had the Keanu Reeves buddy is an immigrant. The person that knocks on the door in the motel is an immigrant. Um, and you also see how I guess like people of color are sort of like pushed into like these lower level earning jobs too. That's noticeable when you have like Kiki Palmer's character in the warehouse as well, like giving speeches about unions and things. Um, so yeah, and like the film is really heavy-handed and like almost 2D in that way, and I think that could put people off. I personally quite enjoyed it. There's a line in this film that is like, and fuck all this AI bullshit. Love that that's in a film in 2025. Um, the thing that does bother me somewhat in this film, mainly I think, is I really like Kiki Palmer's character, and she gets ignored for an important section of it. I think we have the whole section where Arj switches lives and he pursues Kiki Palmer's character again. Her name is Elena. Um, and it's done so easily. It's kind of ridiculous the way that that happens. Um, and I think it ends up serving a purpose in the film because it gets to the point where both of them snap out of this kind of fake reality. And she's like, I'm living a real life and you're living nonsense. Are you okay for me to keep going?
No, no, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like she's like, I'm living real life and you're living absolute nonsense. And so that's the bit where she ticks back into being like a real human being. which is lovely to see. But I don't know if it should have ever gotten to that point.
Mm,
Um, but I like the moral message that she feeds in the film with her kind of fighting the real fight. And she's the one that's kind of she's in this situation where I can't remember how many jobs she's working. I think it's two, and it's a real struggle.
mm,
But she learns to appreciate life, and there's that whole thing in the film of like sometimes people don't need divine intervention; they just need another person. So I love how this film does the usual messaging of these films, which is like appreciate life
mm.
because it's great in its own little pockets, even if you're struggling, whilst also doing the messaging of going, it's so much easier for other people, and this needs to be leveled out or fixed or something because this is fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interesting. I partially agree with you. I think
Hmm.
this film starts off quite strong. Um, Also, should mention my screening. Was in by the way, another little rant. The Cineworld at Leicester Square. Most of the screens are like that screen that I mentioned 2 weeks ago. They have like 4 rows. It's
Oh,
really weird. It's so weird being in like the place for movies and then you're in like the tiniest room in the planet. I mean, it's very intimate and it's like, ooh, I would love a cinema like this in my own home, but I paid to come here. Besides the point, people were eating this shit up. The laughter was on like
oh.
full display. Everybody was
Mine was
laughing their
busy as
asses
well,
off.
by the way.
Well, I
I
mean,
was
so was
in
mine, but mine was 4 rows.
Yeah, but and I was also in the smaller screen in Cineworld. You know, it does the wraparound in my
Yeah,
local, and it like screen 12 is the like first one as you walk on the left, but it's still got way more seats than that, and
yeah.
that was still quite busy. And I think
Oh,
this
okay.
film isn't going to get. I think that speaks testament to like maybe the people that want to go see this film went to see the film the day
Hmm.
after it came out, and it makes it feel more full because it's a smaller cinema. But I don't know if this film's going to get seen because of all the other stuff that's out.
I don't know. It's been heavily pushed, and I feel like people do like the cast. Like I would say they're draws, but I'm unsure. I'm actually very interested to see how well it does.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it starts really strong. I think the comedy is great. I think Keanu Reeves is fucking spectacular in this role. Whether or not that is intentional, I don't know. Um, but his whole like delivery of just every line.
That's obviously intentional. Are
Tacos.
you yeah, some of the stuff is insane.
But it's like it's so funny because it has to be intentional. But he is playing Keanu Reeves like dialed up, and it's just perfect. He's so funny, and I love that man. The rest of the performances are fine. And they supply a decent amount of comedy. I think Aziz Ansari is relatively funny, and I think Seth Rogen is as well. Um, so I don't know. They provide some good laughs. But initially at the start, I was like, okay, it's interesting. It's slightly well worn territory with the down on his luck guy and the wealthy man, and it's not doing anything that's like revolutionary. And as you say, it is so heavy handed. This is probably where we differ slightly. I don't like that in my films. I think it's lazy.
I don't like it in
It's
my films. I like it in this film.
I okay, cool. Yes, I think I think it just pushes it a step too far with like its setup
I can
of
see that.
how many times we're going to like showcase our theme is wealth, guys. Our theme is wealth. If you didn't get that, here's another opportunity. Like it's a bit too much. Um, but despite that, I was still enjoying myself. I, don't- I think it's interesting, as you say, it's tackling stuff that maybe hasn't been done before as well. Like, let's talk about unions. Let's talk about um, how wealth does make life easier, and it isn't this immediate journey that Arj is going on. That he realizes it in himself. Huh? Maybe I don't want the wealth. Maybe I do want my life. Like there was nothing like that, and I thought that was really refreshing. But then we get like halfway through the movie, and I'm like, okay, but you, he is going to have to go back to his life at some point. So
Mhm, mhm.
how are you going to display that to us? Because he's currently loving life being wealthy, and there's no sign of that slowing down. And I think the movie shits the bed in its conversations, in how it wraps up that theme. I think it's simplistic. Um, if I'm being complimentary, I think
Mm,
it is like utterly baffling and actually insulting at worst. Like I think it reeks of like a rich person being like, "Hey, life is really beautiful though, isn't it? Um, because you've got relationships with people, and even though you might have to work that shitty job and you're not being paid fairly, and then there's no but, there's no even though, it's just well, but at least you've got your relationships with people. However, he like manages to get Kiki Palmer very easily with wealth. Like, and they're able to go to a restaurant and have a nice meal together without the pressures of him feeling like he's unable to do that because he has the wealth to do it.
mhm,
Like, I just find it a little bit. I find it a little insulting, to be honest. Like, coming
mm,
from people who obviously have amassed a shit ton of wealth to be like, but don't worry, guys, like unionize. Like, why don't you just like go into your work and like start a union? Because just do it. Or like, I'm not gonna spoil how this wraps up, but
mm,
the resulting lives that people go on and the decisions that they make are just absurd. Like, um, it's not realistic for people to do that. Arj specifically makes a decision it at the end that would result in him being like poorer, like with less money.
mm,
And yes, it's the relationships and the people that are surround you that make life worth living. Yes, completely. It is silly, and I think it's dangerous to then not address the fact that you need wealth to live. And I think the movie was getting at that throughout the entire thing. So I don't understand how at the ending it's like how it just completely ignores the fact that wealth is still needed to live. Um, and I know you said that line about AI. Great that that's in a movie. I agree. Great that it's in a movie that that's being addressed. However, the context of that being used, I thought was absolutely abysmal. I
mhm,
just thought, oh, cool. So and so has went on a journey and realized this. The situation that he places himself in, again, this is all the ending, so I'm talking about spoilers, but that just would not happen. Or that scene happens, great. The next scene after that, the next few seconds, would be people turning around and going, "What the fuck do you mean? We're here to make money."
100%.
It was so like it was very idealistic with the way
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this movie wraps up, and I, I think there's places for that, but I think when you're it was just so far out of the realm of realism. And I think, especially when you're dealing with wealth and it is a daily struggle for some people, I I think this film's insulting, to be honest. And it doesn't dismiss from the fact that
Mm,
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy this movie and I was enjoying the journey. I think it just really misunderstands the messaging of what it's trying to say, which is so bizarre considering that the majority of the movie is regurgitating and repeating the same message over and over. Like,
mm,
I think the messaging kind of works the most with Keanu Reeves' character. This like somebody who is not human experiencing the joys of humanity. I think that messaging really works, and it's also not like so in your face. It is a
mhm.
little bit more subtle, I guess, because he's slowly becoming more human, and as he's doing that, he's experiencing the joys, and but he's also experiencing the hardships that come with humanity. Um, and just being human is a complex blend of all these emotions. It isn't one or the other. And I think on both Aziz Ansari's like Arj's side and Jeff's side, I think it's um too idealistic, too like black and white. There's like less nuance I mean, that could be said about the entire movie. I just think the way it
Mm.
wraps up is I was genuinely baffled because I was, you know, like in all these movies, you're gonna get to the point where it's like it's time to go back now, and that conversation happens, and I was like, okay, I don't understand how we've got here.
Mhm.
So I'm really hoping this conversation enlightens me, and it just didn't. And I think from that point I was like, God, come on.
Yeah, I agree with you
So
on a lot of that. I don't. I think maybe like the way that I took it was different. So, for example, like the Seth Rogen shouting at the boardroom, that is the most egregious thing I think is the because it's very you're talking about being idealistic. This film is
yeah,
idealistic, and I do think it lives in that weird like comedy realm where like some things just are just not true. And like that being one of them. Um, I think the showing that he could buy dinner for Elena like quite easily and that like progressing their relationship was quite a nice addition because it's really fake. The way that it breaks down afterwards, I think, speaks volumes to just how that was just like swooping someone off their feet, but like there was no depth to any of that. I'm sure they had
hmm
way more in-depth, realistic conversations the first time around that they did that, outside of the just like buying her dinner.
yeah.
Um, I do think also that yes, it does rush through to that conclusion at the end. Um, it is just a bit too quick. Personally, I don't mind it that much. I think let me formulate what I was going to say because I've completely lost it. Um, I understand it because he does get shown specifically his life because obviously it has a discussion around wealth and you're talking about it's kind of insulting because it just goes I just go back to your life. It's not that difficult. Um, to be fair to him, he was shown that there was a path where his life would be okay. It's not like we took a character that was going back to completely nothing.
That's interesting though, because see the reaction of my cinema when he gets shown that, oh, this is what your life would be like. People were laughing. And the follow up to that is him going, my life sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That
it,
I took
it,
that as um, specifically like the dog one where he has a house. I took that as Keanu Reeves like being incapable of showing him the right moments in his life. That man has a house, like a real house, and he's in a happy relationship and he has a dog. A dying dog does not show that you have a bad life. I've in my family home we put down three dogs. Like life is not bad because I had to put down a dog. Like it shows the obviously the struggle that he's living in now, and he genuinely is struggling right now, trying to find work, and he's not living a good life. It then shows him living in a cramped home. That's not the worst thing in the world. What that's speaking to is obviously the like really horrible financial circumstances that cause people to do that. But then he ends up having a house in a relationship with a dog. Like I put that down to Keanu Reeves' character's incapability to show him the good side of his life.
interesting. That's interesting. I just don't necessarily know how I like how that played though. I think that's also partially some of this is that it felt like I felt uncomfortable laughing at some points
Mm.
because it was like, well, there are people who are living like this, and you are using him as haha, look at his life. Well, I don't know. I don't. I
Too
really don't know. I think
surreal,
the
you
film
think?
just irks. I think so. I think it maybe had to like swing the other way. It was dealing too much with like realistic scenarios that I
Hmm.
think to like wrap it up like, and we're fine. It just didn't sit right with me.
Hmm. Hmm. I get that.
Um, I think, but again, see, maybe if this was released in the 70s or something, or like, I don't know, people have been struggling with wealth for a very long time. But like, I feel like specifically now, where I know so many people that are like just struggling to get jobs and like struggling like across the board, even people who are like financially okay are like
Yeah,
struggling.
yeah.
So then to
It's
look
still
down on
horrible.
people that are, yeah, yeah, I don't
I
know.
honestly, I didn't feel like the film was looking down on people because it was having this discussion. And when it got to the point where he makes his decision to go back, I agree that it was really rushed. But I think the catalyst for that was Elena being like, "This sucks, but this life is mine." And what he was living was not his life. His dad didn't even know who he was. So I
Yeah.
understand him going back, but I think you're right in that there maybe needs to just be just another step, like in the middle somewhere, that
Hmm.
shows that the character is thinking that. Because I actually don't like agreeing with you on this. Like, I don't think we see enough of Aziz and Ari's character like figuring his way out through this. Like, there's not enough of it's very external, and the story's about
Yes.
him, but it's very much you're seeing scenes where there's loads of people
Hmm.
and it's almost like taking a step back. Maybe we need to have pushed in on him more to understand his thought process more.
Well, where's the scenes of like him looking at his life and missing his life? There was none of
Hmm.
that. The
Yeah.
the conclusion that it comes to is like when he goes back, I don't think there's a single reason other than the like generic reasons of people, relationships, that kind of stuff. I don't think there was a single specific reason other than like the possibility of continuing his relationship with a girl for him to go back, and I just think
Mm.
that's weak.
I think it comes more down to like hope and ownership and things like that, but
Yeah. Actually I agree with the sentiment that you're saying. I think that need to be better shown in the movie.
translated. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was good fortune. You would recommend it.
I would recommend it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Um, I wouldn't.
Fair enough. I mean, it is
I think
a
this will
pretty good
do
amount.
well with like general audience. However, I will say I'm coming off the back of watching like 40 movies.
Yeah, this is probably the worst thing you've seen.
Probably.
Yeah. Whereas, like, for me, it was like Hamnet and then Good Fortune, Frankenstein. I just, this is probably, honestly, I don't know. I don't know which one's more hollow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no. I wonder if I'll like Frankenstein. Um.
Although, to
Anyway,
be
we don't
fair,
have a question.
film is a medium where you get as much out of as you put in, I guess. I feel like I got a lot out of this, not Frankenstein. Someone else might feel differently, and I think Frankenstein will be rated higher than this. So,
Oh, I got a
um,
lot out of this. I was just pissed off.
fair enough. Understood. I do have that question, but it turns we really don't have time for it, do we? It's up to you.
I do have a hard out. Is the question quick or not?
Uh, what simple but realistic piece of tech from film, TV would you like to be a thing in real life? For example, pair phones from the Nickelodeon universe.
That's incredible. Um, I know what your fucking answer is, so
Oh, I didn't know. Actually, maybe you don't know because there's different things from that universe that it could be.
what
You've
piece of
pointed me in a
tech?
direction. That's not fair.
Owen, your brain would have went in that direction eventually. Oh God, the only thing I could think of is the Men in Black thing. Fuck.
Oh, the
Oh,
neuralizer.
yeah,
Or leave a knower.
but I don't. Fun. That's actually really fun because it's playing on the
Because it
bit,
works. Yeah.
yes, pretty good. Um, fuck, this is
Should I say
so
mine while you think?
yeah.
I've got a prop and everything. This is mine. It's the TARDIS. I would like to be able to
I'm
travel in
shaking
time
my
and
head for the
space.
listeners.
I mean, it's funny because you froze when you did that as well. So it's just you look like
Oh
an emoji
fuck,
where you're just like like straight mouth, just like no, mm-mm. But
and that's how I feel.
this is her.
Um, uh, I'm gonna go
uh,
with
I'm
um.
gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Bye guys. Oh. Fuck.
Anything from the
Like,
Marvel
what? Wait,
universe.
is it? Yeah, that's where my brain's going. Is it tech? Specifically
Realistic
tech.
piece of tech. Realistic.
Oh, yeah, TARDIS.
Uh, I guess that means just not
Um,
fantasy then. Like sci-fi would be fine.
yeah, if that helps you sleep at night.
All right.
Uh,
You want to like the Iron Man suit?
that is where my brain was going, but I was like, that's really basic. Oh, oh, and this isn't fair.
This is kind of funny to watch. Like the web shooters from Spider-Man.
That's again.
The it's gonna be like the portal opener from Stranger Things. I don't think they did it like once, and the rest of the time it was like 11 that could do it. Or they did it twice. The Americans and the Russians, right?
Yeah. Oh, Tron. I would have a fucking Tron cycle. Fuck yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Get through traffic like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Plot to Go. I've got to go. So
Yeah,
follow
yeah.
us on.
YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts.
Was that everything?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh shit. Next week, Begonia. Begonia, baby.
Oh, well, I've seen that.
You will.
When's
It's
that
coming
out?
out on Halloween. Woohoo.
Cool. So my Sunday will be on you probably.
Good movie. It's a great Halloween movie. It's a little treat.
I actually am looking
And
forward
maybe
to it.
after the hunt, if Owen's seen it. Bye.
Bye.